Struggling with weight loss? Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet is a clinically developed nutrition program designed to promote fat loss while protecting lean body mass. Developed at USC's Longevity Institute, it assists the body in entering a fasting-like state that helps reset metabolism and target visceral fat. In just 5 days, Prolon offers a science-backed approach to weight loss without extreme restriction or guesswork. Get 15% off plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe at prolonlife.com/now.
If you've got spring fever, Lowe's has the cure. During SpringFest, make your landscape stand out with 3 free bags of Miracle-Gro 3/4 cubic foot garden soil when you buy 3. Plus, get up to 40% off select major appliances to keep clothes, food, and dishes fresh all season long. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 4/22 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for details. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Inside the void, dark secrets can't avoid. Running through the midnight hour, lost souls seek hidden power. In the static of the air, questions more than we can bear. Fragments of truth they'll distort, voices calling from the fort. Shadows speak, they never lie. Hidden paths they mystify. Unveil the mask, ignite the spark. Dive into the deepest dark.
You've been told to trust the system. You've been told to believe in the people who say they have all the answers. But what if they don't? What if everything you think you know is just a carefully crafted illusion? A smokescreen designed to keep you from seeing the truth. Welcome to the dark corners of the unknown. In this world, nothing is as it seems. The shadows are long, and the whispers of the powerful echo louder than you'll ever hear from the voices of those who are silenced. In tonight's episode, we'll peel back the layers of a story so twisted it could change everything. But be warned, once you open this door, there's no turning back. The truth, well, is more dangerous than you can imagine. Stay with us, and you'll uncover what they've been hiding. But remember, once you see the darkness, it's hard to look away. This is the Midnight Syndicate.
Good evening, weirdos, and welcome back to the Midnight Syndicate Podcast, where the veil is thin and the questions are deep. I'm your host, Sandman, and along with me, as usual, is my partner, my cohort, my co-host, partner in crime, Easy E.
What's going on? Good to be here.
Dude, it's good to have you here, man. It's been a while since we've actually gotten together to do a podcast.
It has. In person, it's great to be back.
Yeah.
Face to face.
Yeah. This, before we start, okay, I've had some people who are a little confused as to what this is. And,
Totally.
And have questions like, what? I thought this was Parareality Podcast. What is going on here? So let's address this.
Yeah.
Okay. So Midnight Syndicate started out as a side project of mine. It was a little secret podcast that I had basically for the secret bunker section of my website.
Yes.
And if you can find the secret bunker, you have access, which is not really hard. Oh, wow. Mysterious voices. Sorry. Wonder if that made it onto the area. But anyway.
It's our AI assistant.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, it's not hard to find the secret bunker, but if you find it, you've got access to all these, Freedom of Information Act stuff that I've obtained and audio recordings and all this sort of sorts of stuff. And one of the things that I did was like, oh, it'd be cool to have a secret podcast for that area. And so I thought, we'll do like get a group, like a roundtable discussion. So it's like we'll call it Midnight Syndicate. I mean, first of all, I assembled the team, right? And it was me, you, Easy-E, and I had former semi-regular co-host John Harrison, who revealed his true identity for whatever reason he wanted to, and then another guy by the name of Chainsaw, and together we formed the Midnight Syndicate. And we're talking about all kinds of pop culture conspiracy theories. That was our gig. Yep. And the thing about it was I was here in Nashville, Tennessee. You were in Orlando, Florida. Mm-hmm. Drew, a.k.a. John, was in Taos, New Mexico.
Parts unknown.
Yeah. And Chainsaw was in Jackson, Mississippi. So you were like, we had 3 different time zones going on and 4 different schedules to work out. And we had some good stuff. It just, we couldn't work the scheduling out.
We couldn't get the syndicate lined up.
So eventually, Easy-E moved back here to Nashville, and the other 2 had just dropped out, and which don't blame them. I mean, it's hard to get that schedule going on, and everyone's got lives and stuff.
More variables, the tougher it is.
Yeah, it sounded. We did some good work, and it sounded great on paper. It just logistically we couldn't do it. So we're like, well, Easy-E and I will continue the podcast. So instead of and what I have aired on the Parareality podcast thing, which we'll get to in a second, has been those quote unquote secret recordings that we did. But it's no longer a secret podcast anymore.
Yes.
And I didn't play all of the recordings that we did, but damn near all of them. But the Midnight Syndicate podcast is just, it's Parareality presents the Midnight Syndicate, and it's part of it's going to be a monthly offering that we do, and we're going to have it like on the second Friday of every month. It's
part of the brand.
Yeah, it's part of the brand. And the way that I'm with Evergreen Podcast, and they won't let me have more than one podcast on. So this is a way of bypassing that, because I only do my main podcast. I only do it twice a month, and this is a way to give more content out there, just expand the brand and offer something a little bit different. So if you're listening to Parareality presents the Midnight Syndicate episode, whatever, and you're like, what is going on here? Now it's just another offering that we have here. And it's Easy-E, he's my co-host for Midnight Syndicate. He's the solid rock, and we may add more people here and there. Don't know, but for right now, we've had to pare it down, and we've lost half of the syndicate. So right now, the syndicate consists of me and Easy-E here.
Yes, the syndicate is small but mighty.
That's right, baby. Yes. That's right. And it's been a while, like I said, since we gotten together, and you've been going through some personal, and we're not getting into that. It's good to have you back, and
it's good to be here.
Yeah, yes. And I was, to be honest, I was a little worried about the future of the syndicate there for a little bit. I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? But
the syndicate lives on.
Yeah,
yes, it does.
So that's enough for that. I think people aren't here to listen to that, so they want to hear some really good stuff. So tonight we're gonna talk about something that is, I know, near and dear to your heart. You're really into this phenomena.
I'm very curious about this
one.
Yeah,
I'm curious about it myself. I've done an episode, at least one, years ago on Parareality, and we're not talking about ghosts or anything like that. We're not talking about demons, and we're not talking about aliens tonight. At least we're not directly. Talking about them. Yeah. Because the phenomena we're exploring tonight doesn't come from ancient text or medieval warnings or dusty folklore whispered around candlelight and stuff like that. Instead, it comes from modern places like parking lots, quiet neighborhoods, lonely stretches of roads and front porches where someone hears an unexpected knock late at night. And the figures at the center of these encounters are children. At least they appear to be.
Eczema is unpredictable, but you can flare less with Ebglyss, a once-monthly treatment for moderate to severe eczema. After an initial 4-month or longer dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
Over the past few decades, ordinary people, just like me and you and Easy E, have reported deeply unsettling experiences with children who seem wrong, for lack of a better word. These aren't ghost hunters or paranormal researchers looking for something strange. These are people simply just, they're going about their everyday lives. They're just living life. They're driving home from work or sitting in their cars, relaxing at home, stuff like that. And until suddenly they notice someone standing nearby, or they hear that quiet knock at the door. The encounter usually begins in the same way. So it's a polite request with a simple question. It's a child asking for help. Can you give us a ride? We need to come inside. Or our parents will be here soon. Stuff like that. The voice is a calm voice, and the tone, though, is like, it's been described as being oddly flat. And something about the interaction feels immediately unsettling, even before the witnesses understands why. And then comes the moment where instinct takes over, the moment when the person realizes that something about these children is deeply unnatural. When they finally look into their eyes of these kids, they see nothing human looking back. There's no white of the eyes, there's no iris, there's no pupil, just black, completely black. And the children continue asking patiently, quietly, waiting for permission to come inside. So tonight, we're stepping into one of the most disturbing modern legends to emerge from the edges of the paranormal world. This isn't an ancient myth handed down through centuries. It's modern, documented, and strangely consistent across countless accounts. Tonight, we're talking about the phenomenon known as black-eyed kids. Easy E, what are black-eyed kids?
Well, that is the question.
Yeah.
You made some really good points about one, them sort of these encounters that play into like human nature, like, oh, I'm a kid, I don't have anywhere to go, please let me in. Yeah, they play to human. Exactly. Yeah, they catch people like by themselves somehow. It's like sort of like, I don't know, they know you're alone.
And vulnerable too.
Exactly.
It's usually, you're like alone late at night or in your car.
In your car by yourself, at home by yourself. And it's a very predatory, seems like a predatory phenomena, but in a sense of like it's preying on your innate human nature to take care of a child. Yeah. And it can be one child or it can be multiple kids. It doesn't necessarily, there's no like, I haven't seen or read or anything that like defines like this situation, it'll be multiple kids, or if you're in this situation, it'll be just one kid. It can be
whatever.
There's even bizarre accounts of like where people see like families of these people with black eyes.
But there's always children.
Always children. Yeah. That's the common theme. There's always children. Some other common themes. I mean, they're usually, it says, between the ages of like 6 and 16, maybe a little older. People are washed over with this uneasy feeling.
And they're usually wearing hoodies.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, I mean, in some, you could run parallels to the abduction phenomena, really, because of sort of the targeted, like predatory nature in which they approach these people or approach the houses. Like, why are they choosing certain houses?
Or certain people?
Some even describe the kids wearing like dated clothing, like they're trying to blend in, but it's like, that's not what people wear.
It's like, this is from the 90s, dude.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard the earliest sighting was in the mid-90s. That's the earliest sighting, apparently.
I think it was 94 or 96. I want to say it was 96 whenever.
I'm reading 96.
That was when the first like report that we know of. I mean, who knows if these things have been around, but this is definitely a more 21st century
It is.
thing.
It is. And I like to I like to run the parallels. Well, actually, here's another point. There's no stories of black-eyed kids after people have interacted with them. All the stories of black-eyed kids are people that have ditched.
Yeah. Well, why would there be stories of black-eyed kids after people have interacted with them? Because they disappear, man.
Well, they disappear, but like with the abduction phenomena, there are obviously stories of people who have survived abduction phenomena. But with the black-eyed kids, it's like there's no stories of.
I've actually I'm gonna debunk that.
That's
because
fine. Yeah.
I've actually heard of one story where someone let a black-eyed kid in, and I think I talked about this when I did my podcast about them however many years ago. Now my memory is shaky, okay?
Yeah.
So whoever out there is listening to this, I don't want to get some stupid email or something that says you totally messed that up and you don't know what you're talking about. I'm trying to recall this as best to my memory, okay? But it seemed like there was a guy that was late night, alone at home, heard the knock on the door. He wound up talking to the kids, like through the door, had that uneasy feeling thing, and wound up opening the door against his better judgment. Everything was screaming, don't do this, and he did it anyway. And when he let the kid in, something happened, I can't remember, and he wound up like barricading himself, I think like in the bathroom or in his bedroom or something.
And they were in the house.
And they were in the house, and the kid kept trying to get in and banging at the door and all this other sorts of stuff, and wound up eventually leaving. It's something along those lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have heard of, that's the only incident that I have ever heard where someone actually encountered one face to face, let them in and survived the ordeal, or is still around to tell about it.
Yeah.
Should I say?
I mean, that sounds horrifying.
It does.
But I do have a story here from a guy that encountered one in a parking lot.
Yeah.
This was in March of 2008. He said, I had my one and only encounter with a black-eyed kid. Before my experience, I had never heard of anything to do with black-eyed kids. He said he was 12. He was sitting outside a hairdresser's in a Chevy pickup waiting for his mom to get her haircut. About 15 minutes had passed, and I saw some kid walking back and forth along the sidewalk in front of my parked car. At first, I thought I recognized him as one of my friends from school, so I banged on the front windshield to get him to look my way. It was not anyone I knew. At this point, I was not scared at all, not yet. The boy walked over to the side of my car and just stares, I think to let me get a good look at his eyes to freak me out.
Yeah.
The pupils were black as night, and the boy whispered, "You must let me in." I then locked the car doors and ducked down into the space below the seats. 5 minutes later, he was gone. When my mother got into the car, she told me a boy with black eyes had come into the hairdressers, had insisted for my mother to give him the keys, and she refused.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, one thing that you brought up was the kid was like, you must let me in. And that's one of the reports, is that they are very insistent.
They are. It's like
about you need to let us in, or you need to let me in. There's something going on, so kind of what they feel like if I'm in danger, if you don't let me in, I'm going to be hurt or
Yes.
killed or something like that.
Yes.
And one of the key aspects of that is that it's the rule of invitations. The folklore suggests that the black-eyed kids can't enter your car, home, wherever you're at, without permission. Kind of like almost like a vampire type thing.
Yeah, or like demonic entities. Like, you have power over that domain as a human, but if you open that door, it's hard to close.
That's right.
Yeah.
So refusal is the key. You survive the encounter by not letting them in.
Yeah.
And I did some looking up while you were telling your story, and it was 1996 when the first one was reported. It was by I think a guy named Brian Bethel.
That's
who's
what I've heard.
An author, or he told the story, I guess. That it's. I mean, people talk about. It's my squeaky chair squeaks. People talk about surviving the black-eyed kid encounter, but what constitutes like surviving the encounter? I mean, because when you encounter them, people, the stories that I hear are one of three things. Either they're riding in their car and they see them on the side of the road, and they just keep going, and they look back in the rearview mirror like, "What, did that kid have black eyes?" They look back and the kid's gone, or whatever.
Yep.
Story number two is they encounter them in their car while their car is parked, and the kid is banging on the car door, and they see them through the glass or whatever. And I don't ever remember any accounts about people like rolling down the window for these kids or anything like that. It's always like the glass is up. And then the third encounter that I hear about is like where they come to your home and they're banging on the door, and it's usually late at night or whatever, and the person answering the door usually has this feeling of dread or fear or something, and they don't open the door, but they converse with these kids through the door, or maybe they have a chain or something on the door, or they crack the door open and they can see the children, or they can look at them through a peephole or a window glass or something like that. So it seems like there's three different encounters, almost like there's different encounters with UFOs and close encounters of the first kind, second kind, third kind. So could you classify these encounters as first kind, second kind, third kind? Surely I'm not the only person that's ever noticed that. But.
No, I don't think you are at all. I mean, is the third kind you are physically? Is that what third kind constitutes?
Yeah. Close encounters of the third kind is physical interaction with. Yeah. So I would consider. If they come to your home, I would consider that to be a close encounter of the third kind with a black-eyed kid.
I think if you can physically see them, yeah.
But if you're sitting in your car, that's a totally, you can see them if you're just sitting in your car. That's a totally different encounter.
Yeah, it is.
But to me, it's different than them coming to your home, because this is, you can find any rando sitting in their car in a parking lot, whether, waiting on their significant other to come out of the store, or they just pulled up. You've been shopping or whatever, and you pull up and it's right as your favorite song comes on. You're like, shit, I'm sitting here listening to this. It could be anything.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit more random than actually coming to your home. Now, the argument could also be made, well, they just randomly choose homes, and maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah.
But when someone comes into your home, whether they're a black-eyed kid or whether there's someone there to rob you, that seems like a target to me.
It does. It does.
I mean, you don't just like randomly walk down the street and go, that looks like a good house to rob. We'll do that. Usually it's targeted for some reason or other. And you would think that the same would equal to the black-eyed kids, but that kind of goes, I got on my soapbox a little bit, but what constitutes quote unquote surviving the encounter? So if you just first encounter, you just riding down the road, you see one on the side of the road. Did you survive it? Yeah, but what kind of encounter was it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's similar to, people see, the alien big cats, or, say they saw Dog Man, in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you saw him. Was it an encounter?
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard from actual experiencers of Dogman, like physical encounters, and that is totally different from
I saw one.
Yeah, I saw one, driving down whatever road at night.
Yeah, it's like Bigfoot. People say, well, I had an encounter with Bigfoot. Well, what was your encounter? Well, I was hiking in the woods and I saw him, down across the valley. Well, I guess it was an encounter.
Yeah.
But
it's not discrediting it.
But what kind of encounter was it?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So another thing, why do so many of these black-eyed children appear to the people when they're alone or in a vulnerable state? What's the allure? How do they know? That's a big question for me.
That is a big question, and it also would suggest that there's some intelligence behind the kid or whatever they are. I don't know if they're actually human or if they're, some sort of, I don't know, alien sentinel or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's obviously some intelligence behind, because there's an agenda. It's not like they're just there. It's not like you're seeing a ghost. It's not like there's a stone tape theory or whatever have you.
But usually when you say they're not just there, but usually they do just kind of like pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
So, but I understand what you're saying. But I don't know. And of course we may never know. To me, the big question is if I'm sitting in my car, if I'm Brian Bethel sitting in his car, he was like getting ready to go to a movie or I don't know, deposit a check at the bank or something like that, whatever it was, whatever benign thing he was doing. If he's sitting in the car and all of a sudden the kid comes up and just pops up out of nowhere, what is the reason for targeting? Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, well, we've scanned the area. This dude is by himself.
Yeah.
So we're going for this dude, versus the car that's got 2 or 3 people in it or whatever, or is it like, is there something special about him specifically that they have been waiting for an opportunity to get him for whatever reason? It's like, this is the first opportunity we've had. We got to strike now, guys.
I mean, the scary part is that's what we do to animals when we're hunting. So it's like, is this the same type of thing? Like, is that what they're doing? I mean, if that can be inferred from all the stories, which I think it probably can. Yeah. Is there some sort of targeted approach? Like they're waiting, like that kid in his car, or like, are they waiting for you to be by yourself so that they can jump on you? Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
I never sit down and really considered that it's part of being hunted.
Yeah, it feels like it.
It sure does. Now that you put it that way, I can totally see that. It's like, maybe you are being hunted. Maybe for whatever reason you've got a target on your back for XYZ reason. Maybe you've got special DNA, or maybe you've got a high sperm count that they need you for.
Those are both pieces of what people suggest the abduction phenomena is doing.
Yeah, yeah. Or if you want to look at the more demonic aspect of the thing, it's like, well, what have you done that would make a demon want to come after you and take you?
Yeah. Are you
what dark secrets are you harboring?
Yeah, that. Is there something about your life that is lending you to that type of vibration? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to ponder. And, witnesses are frequently describing the emotional reactions that they have all in the same way, like sudden fear, being really, really like extremely uneasy. Mm-hmm. You've got your spidey senses tingling, as I say. Yeah. You've got a feeling of danger, and this gut instinct is telling you, don't open the door, don't roll down the window, don't let this kid inside. Everybody has the same overall general description of how they are feeling. And I've even heard or read descriptions of people where they say they get things like they feel sick, like physically sick, or their nose begins to bleed. People have also said they get the feeling that they're being watched, and then all of a sudden you hear on the door.
Yep.
Yep. So is this fear that they're feeling, is it psychological, or could it be some sort of biological response to this unnatural thing that's standing on the other side of your door or standing on the side of the road?
I think most people, whether they've had strange encounters or not, have felt that sense, even if it's just like, oh, you wake up in the middle of the night and like you hear a creak. Like your body's still like, oh shit, what is that?
I've definitely felt it.
Oh yeah, I have too. Yeah, and I've had a couple weird instances where it was like in that hypnagogic sleep space where I don't know what's going on. But I've also had encounters where like I've woken up and like I hear something and my body's like, but it's that human response to danger or proposed danger. Back
in my paranormal investigation days, I was doing an investigation and I went into this area and I was fine the whole night. Everything's cool. And I went into this one area and I immediately, I stepped over the threshold and got like 3 or 4 steps in, and I immediately got this thing. You need to get the hell out of here. Whatever is in here doesn't want you here right now, and you need to leave. And I got freaking scared as hell. Just scared. And I turned around and I got the hell out of there with the quickness.
Yeah.
And so I know exactly what that feeling is like. That I couldn't imagine where I'm in my safe spot. I'm in my home.
That's exactly, yeah.
And now, yeah. And where am I going to go?
Yeah. Yeah. You're stuck.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Welch's Fruit Snacks. Big news for your kids' lunchbox. Welch's Fruit Snacks are now made without any artificial dyes. A snack parents can feel good about, and the same delicious taste kids can't get enough of. All made with no artificial dyes. Try Welch's Fruit Snacks today.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
I do have a couple stories if we want to do that, and then maybe elaborate on these, because this one seems a bit different.
Okay.
So this says black-eyed grandparents.
Ooh.
So it says this says 96, 97. Okay, so
at the beginning of the phenomenon.
Yeah, it seems to be at the beginning from what we know. So it says, I lived in a fairly old terraced house with a cemetery at the end of the road. Cliche, I know, but it's an important detail. Nothing remarkable about the house of the era. It was just convenient for college. Anyways, I was up late one night on the PC in my bedroom, which looked out onto the street. It was about 2 or 3 a.m. For whatever reason, probably to give my eyes a rest, I wandered over to the window and looked down the road in the direction of the cemetery. And I saw 3 people walking slowly down the road. I could see that they were quite old and appeared to be dressed in funeral clothes, which, given the hour, was weird. There were about 2 women and a man. I'd put their ages around 80, and the woman in the middle was being guided by the other woman and the man. As they came closer, I got the impression that she was upset. My first thought was given their age, she had recently buried her husband, and grief had caused her to behave slightly irrationally, causing her to try to be out of the cemetery at that hour. The other 2 were friends' relatives trying to look after her to get home. Anyways, it was all interesting enough for me to carry on watching as they got closer to the house. Just outside the front of the house was a street lamp. I watched them as they made their way past, but when they got into the lamp post, they all stopped, and the upset woman in the middle looked up at me and grinned. This was when things got weird. The grin became a sort of grimace. I'm kind of getting chills reading this. If there was any color in her face to start with, it was now dead white. At that point, I realized I was staring right into her eyes, but her eyes were pitch black. Time sort of dilated. If you've ever crashed a car in the final split second before you make impact, seems to drag out as you process more information. I'm sure we only made eye contact for a second, but it felt like several minutes as my peripheral vision faded, and I felt like all I could see was these 2 black holes in her face drawing me in. Although the distance between us didn't change, somehow it felt like she was coming closer and closer. And I was kind of aware, although I couldn't honestly say I could see them at that point, that the 2 people with her were just continuing to look down the road as if frozen, but waiting for this woman to finish whatever she was doing. I was suddenly hit with a feeling of dread and panic, so I threw myself on the floor as soon as I'd broken her gaze. I felt pretty stupid that this upset woman, who clearly needed help, had spooked me so badly. So I looked out the window again, and there was no sign of them. It was a longish, straight road, and the house was toward the middle. Very bizarre.
And just like that, they disappeared.
They're gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is spooky.
I mean, 2 to 3 a.m. at that time frame is noted in many encounters.
Yeah. You know, as you were reading this, excuse me, as you were reading this, it kind of a little bit reminded me of, have you ever heard of the mirrored men phenomena?
I was going to bring them up if you hadn't later on, but yes.
That really reminds me,
because they're usually in 3s.
Yeah, and they're moving in perfect unison, and it's usually kind of slow, but their movement is kind of jerky and quirky. They're dressed alike, and like if they turn to look at you, they all turn their heads in unison and all. And that kind of reminded me about that. So I wonder if the mirrored men phenomena is not some sort of offshoot of black-eyed kids, or vice versa. If the black-eyed kid's not some sort of younger version of the mirrored men.
Yeah, because I mean the mirrored men are in 3s. You can see a lot of the black-eyed kid stories are multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're on the same page. They're doing the same thing.
They're dressed alike.
Yep.
Yeah. Except, like I said, the black-eyed kids are wearing hoodies.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Which is really weird.
Yes, it is.
That was a spooky story, and I would love to know, because one of the things that is common about the mirrored men would be there's usually like some bad weather, like
that's right,
storm or something like that. So I would love to know what that is like with the black-eyed kids.
I mean, I was going through some stories that did lend credence to that. Sort of like let me in out of the rain. I can't find my parents. That type of stuff. Yeah,
That's interesting.
but again, it's all. I've not read many encounters that were like in broad daylight.
No.
So I mean, that is obviously a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, and I think the few that I have heard that have been in broad daylight, it's been one of those things where the kid's like on the side of the road and you're driving down the road and you
Yes. Yeah.
see the kid and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah. No. Same. And honestly, that could be some kid in contacts.
Speaking of that, I'm glad that you brought that up because now that's one of the theories is that, well, people are it's just some kids playing, pranks on you and they're wearing, contact lenses and stuff. And now that could be a very possible explanation that could fit some of the phenomena.
Definitely could. Yeah.
But not all of it. And it's definitely, even if it is a kid playing a prank on you, it doesn't explain why those feelings of fear and dread and uneasiness come up. But back in the 90s when this started, these contact lenses that you can get, they're called scleral contact lenses. They weren't available like what they are now. And they were hella expensive, like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. They were more hard, and today they make them, like I said, they're called sclera contact lenses. And you can find them. I'm looking at the internet right now. I've got 3 websites just without even doing anything right now. Moco Queen, whatever that is, Twink Lens, and then spookyeyes.com.
Wow.
3 pop up right there and they're like $90. Now, for a 6-year-old kid, that's a 6-year-old kid. Most of them's not going to have $90, but still, what if you've got a big brother or a big sister or something like that, and they've got a pair, and you're like, I don't want a pair because it's my big brother or whatever, and the parents will get them a pair too or whatever, So and they're easier to put in. They're not as itchy and scratchy. You can see out of them better. It's just the technology is so much better. But not in 1996.
No, not when it originated.
Yeah, so you're not going to have not even a 16-year-old kid. Very, very few 16-year-old kids back in 1996 would have hundreds of dollars to spend on these movie theater quality lenses just to go around and fuck with some people.
Yeah, the other thing is like anyone who's been around kids knows when kids are just being an a-hole.
Yep.
Right? Like you can tell when a kid is just like, whether it's for attention or they just want to get on people's nerves. Like you know when a kid's just being that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, your point you made, the sense of dread, it doesn't line up with normal kids.
Not normal kids just being kids.
Yeah.
Normal kids being kids and playing a prank on you, especially something like that, being an a-hole, like what you said, that usually the response that elicits from people is usually anger.
Yeah, definitely.
And not fear. Yeah. So, yeah.
And they usually laugh because kids get uncomfortable.
Yes.
They usually start laughing because they don't know what else to do. They have no other response.
Yeah, because they're freaking idiots.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, kids.
Sorry.
What's your other story, man?
So this one says they're on my balcony. I just moved into this apartment and I tend to live a very private life. I don't have a Facebook account. I work during the day at a grocery store. So I'm walking up my flight of stairs to get to my apartment and I hear these kids laughing and then I heard whispering. It was kind of late, so I thought this was weird, but I ignored it and walked into my apartment. I live on the 3rd floor. I was getting ready to open my balcony door. It was really muggy in my apartment. I walked over to the door, pull my blinds, and 2 kids are staring back at me.
Holy crap.
Mind you, it's on the 3rd floor. I screamed and backed away, smashing my leg into the table. They were both in blue jeans, and the oldest, he was taller, had on a green shirt with white stripes, and the younger had on a button-up blue shirt. The oldest one touched the sliding door. "Hey, miss, can you let us in?" The younger one just kept looking around. I just stared at them. I was finally able to say, "How'd you get on my balcony?" I walked to the door and noticed how excited the older one got. He moved closer to the entrance. "Can you let us in?" I wasn't thinking. I unlocked the door, and when I looked up, their eyes were black. The entire eye. I quick locked the door and told him I had to call the police because my door was jammed and I couldn't unlock the door. Okay. So I called the police. The oldest boy pleaded with me the entire time to let them in. The police arrived about an hour later. They came in, walked to the balcony. When they opened my balcony door, nothing was there.
Of course not. Had an hour to escape.
Yeah. They looked down and saw two children. They were running in the parking lot away from the building. The police took a report and said they had to get help getting up there, obviously, and that they would question the neighbors, and that's it.
Wow,
bizarre. I mean, 3 stories.
That one's more scary than the first one to me.
Yeah, 3 stories for. I mean, I guess they could have climbed. It's weird. I guess they could have climbed, maybe, but the black eyes.
A ladder. Where was the ladder when the cops were there? Yeah, and it was a woman, right?
It was a woman, yes.
Alone.
Yes.
Later at night. There you go.
They were there before she got back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were waiting.
They were waiting on her.
They were waiting. Yeah, that kind of is almost like classic vampire folklore. Because, like we were saying earlier, the vampires, they can't enter your home without an invitation, and these kids are begging for invitations.
Yes.
So could these black-eyed kids, or BEKs for short, we haven't mentioned that, but the short is BEK, right? BEKs. So should these BEKs could they be a modern version of some sort of vampire? Could that be it?
Yeah, not a bad thought. Not a bad thought. I mean, maybe it's more of like an energy of sort of vampire. I know that term gets tossed around these days.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've actually interviewed a guy who claimed to be a psychic vampire. And this, to me, this doesn't fit psychic vampire stuff, because a psychic vampire, if I'm an energy drainer, I don't need you to open the door.
Oh, you can just happen.
Yeah. I don't need that. But if I'm a modern day blood sucking vampire, if you follow the lore, they can't enter until you let them in, which I don't understand that. I don't know why that. I'm sure I've read that somewhere before, but I don't know why that's a thing.
The permission thing?
Yeah.
I think it's like a dominion thing. Like, they're not human in our realm anymore. Yeah, true. They've given that up. So, like, our realm as a human, we have dominion over the lower realms.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've heard from a spiritual. I grew up Catholic, so from like also that perspective, there's the whole.
Yeah. Okay. So I went to a Catholic college, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I'm saying. Like the Catholic Church is, as far as exorcisms and dominion over demons and all that.
Here's our AI assistant.
Shut up, AI. Yeah.
Let me see if I can make this stop. That is just like very annoying. Let's see. Now watch what happens. Let's see. Now it's going to say something again.
Speak of the devil, the AI.
Oh, okay.
They shut her off.
Yeah. Now our AI assistant, our research assistant has been shut off. So getting back to the balcony thing. Okay. So I find that more disturbing than the first one because the kids were just there on a 3rd-story balcony, just like there's no ladder, there's no stairs getting up to the balcony. So the only way they had to get up there either by a ladder or a rope or something on their own, or they had to come through the person's home and get in there. But if you've ever lived in an apartment that had a balcony, how do you get out there? There's usually a sliding glass door, right?
Yeah, that's what she was saying.
And so they would have had to have unlocked the door, went through it, closed it, and locked it from the inside. So that's just nuts right there.
That's terrifying in itself.
And if they could walk through the apartment and get out on the balcony, why would they need her permission to open up the damn door to get back in? That's so you can take that and throw that out the window. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
So it had to have been they got there from. I mean, was there like, could there have been something above her where they just like lowered themselves down?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a freaking spider monkey. Yeah. I mean, what? So there's all kinds of things, but not going through the house. No. I'm going to rule that one out.
Yeah. It's a bizarre. I mean, yeah. Anything that like, you think the balcony, oh yeah, no one's going to be able to get there. Like that's the whole purpose.
Yeah.
Like, it's my balcony. I have the door to the balcony. Yeah. And then they're there. It's like, what the, yeah, that is a bizarre one. The mirrored men one creeps me. Just that phenomena creeps me out though. Cause it's like there's something about the unison.
Yeah.
The unison that really bothers me.
Have you tried to do any like internet research for mirrored men?
No, not personally. I've listened to stories, but not done but I have a feeling it's few and far between.
I can't find shit on mirrored men. Everything that what little bit you can find kind of points you back to that one direction.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to promote another podcast on this podcast because it seems kind of weird, but Derek Hayes with Monsters Among Us, he's the one that broke this phenomena out, and what little bit you can find kind of goes back to him, you know. So he would be. I don't know that you could ever consider that there is an expert in this type of field that we're talking about here, but if there were to be, I would say he would probably be the expert on the mirrored men because he has more info on it than anybody else out there that I know.
People have called into his show.
Yeah,
and
I would love to get him on this show to talk about the mirrored men. Specifically, or even not even just to have a private conversation with him about the mirrored men off, not even on the podcast, off the record. I'd love to pick his brain to find out a little bit more about what he knows. And he probably, he's probably, well, I've said everything that I can say. I don't know, Who knows? But one of the things that one of the theories about the BEKs is that even though that they appear to be a modern phenomenon, that they kind of echo back to older traditions like fairy folk, that it could be something like a fairy folk. We talked about vampires and demons, but we haven't really discussed about them being fairy folk. But I've any description I've ever heard about the fae or the fairy folk, this doesn't jibe with what I typically see as fairies being described as.
No, it doesn't. But I will say that some of the old stories you hear about fae folk is they tried to blend in relative to the time period.
Yeah.
So like if just I don't have any specific examples, but if you go back to like say Ireland, they try to blend in and lure you to do something. And then if you engaged them, say, there's a whole thing about eating food related to the fae folk. If you ate the food, that was the no coming back point. Like you engage them.
Well, I'd be dead then because I'm going to eat the food.
Yeah, hey, listen, I feel the same way. I was like, if that cake looks good, I'm probably eating it. So, but that was like the engagement point. And if you did that, it was you're a goner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't think I've heard about that. So
yeah, it's a thing. Yeah. Which honestly might be another topic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the guy.
But I've never heard anything about BEKs associated with foods. Like,
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, just elaborate for a second and say that like the Fae folk, that's how they used to be.
Oh,
Now
evolution.
They're adapting
Okay.
to the
Improvise,
environment.
adapt, and overcome.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Now they're wearing hoodies, just looking like ragged kids.
Because that's the way to blend in.
Yeah, because showing up in overalls and is not gonna. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I got it.
That was my extrapolation.
Okay. I got you. So I think that's a stretch with comparing them to Fae folk, but I get what you're saying about
I'm just
evolution.
comparing the two,
well, that's a good point. That is it the Fae folk or the fairies that they're, like I said, improvising. They're evolving with their techniques, and because food, I guess, back in that time, hundreds of years ago, that was like hella important. I mean, and it's
That's how you engaged people.
It still is hella important now, but you can get food anywhere now, right? Whereas back then, it was a little bit harder to come by good quality food.
Yes.
So I can see where that would be something that would entice people. And now they're evolved to, let me entice people by appearing as an innocent little child.
Yeah. Yeah.
And knocking on your door at 3:00 in the morning or appearing on your freaking balcony. Let me in.
There's also, just a couple points. There's also a lot of, and we're close to the Appalachian Mountains. There's a lot of Appalachian folklore about don't engage. If you're out in the woods at night, do not engage.
That's
whatever
right.
is out there. There's a lot of stories about that. So that's another, the similar piece, similar type of vibe.
Yeah, we could do another whole episode on don't engage with the shit that's in the Appalachian Mountains because, there's a lot of spooky shit there. Yeah, for sure. So we're running at the top of the hour, so here, or the bottom of the hour, should I say. So one final reflection question for you.
Yes.
Are Black-Eyed Kids simply something like a modern ghost story, or could they represent something that has always been part of human folklore, just like you were saying, adapting to the modern world?
I'm leaning towards the latter, some sort of an adaptation. I do think they're somehow related to the abduction phenomena, just like
alien hybrid
aliens.
thing?
Yep, the alien abduction phenomena, because just the black eyes, and the grays, you can compare there.
That's a great point. So one of the things that they say about the Greys is that the reason that they're abducting us and doing all these experiments, and especially those of the sexual nature, is that their race is dying, right? Yeah. So they're trying to save their race. So what if the BEKs are the product of that?
Yeah.
And now they're sending, instead of the Greys actually beaming us up, Scotty, to probe our anuses, what if they're sending out the BEKs because they look more like us and they can? That's a great theory.
Goes back to the hunting.
God, we need to spend a lot of time talking about that too.
We could definitely do another.
Yeah.
It goes back to the hunting thing. Like, is there's some sort of agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so I'm leaning toward it's some sort of progressed.
And could this tie into all the missing 411 stuff with David Paulides out in the national parks?
I mean, you've been doing this longer than I have. You know that a lot of this is connected.
Everything's connected.
So it all runs together. I mean, the 411s, the nature of those, the targeted nature that it would seem, those encounters. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And Fae folk, like all the 411s are arguably in the middle of nowhere.
True. And where do fays live?
Yeah, in nature. They're in nature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In nature in the middle of nowhere.
We may have another episode.
I think we do. I think our next episode is going to have to be a continuation of this talk.
It should be, yeah. I think we got it.
Yeah. So, so you've got, my God. Okay. So
let's set the scene.
you see, he's looking at me and I'm over here like raising my hands going, I've got it.
Yeah.
So check this out. Okay. So the Greys, they come and they kidnap you. They abduct you. They take you up to their ship. They do all kinds of experiments on you, extract your sperm, which I've got a great soundbite about you talking about an alien hand job that I need to insert in this. But they extract your sperm, okay, and they send you back home, and your memory's wiped. They take your sperm. They put it with the alien gray egg, okay. They create a hybrid, which is a black-eyed kid. Now they've got a whole army of these black-eyed kids. So instead of them coming down on their spaceship and abducting people in the middle of the night, they're like, this is getting too risky. People are starting to catch on to this. Let's send these kids down. Let's train these kids to abduct people. So they send the kids down because they look more like us. And the kids are down there or down here, and they put them just in rando spots. And one of those rando spots, but the rando spots are where you're going to see a lot of people, right? Where's a rando spot where you're going to see a lot of people? A national park. So they put the kids in the national park. Here's some rando dude or woman, whoever, comes hiking down the trail, and they see a kid, and the kid is like, help me, please help me. Something's after me or whatever. And they're like, oh, God, it's a kid. So they go up to him, and bam, there you go. The kids abduct him, and they take him away. There's your black-eyed kid theory right there.
Plausible. Yeah, and then they drop the clothes off like 5 miles away.
Yeah. Or they do their experiment on them, and sometimes they die, and then they're like, oh, we got to get rid of them. So they just take them back to a spot close to where they found them and just dump them off, and 10 years later, they find their bones. They're like, we searched this place 18 times and there was nobody here. Now there's a skeleton,
Yeah, there was nobody there. And there was. Yeah. Bizarre, but I like that.
Yeah, I'm sticking to that right now. That's where I'm headed with this right now for me. Well, we are running out of time, so we gotta close it down. And so we have reached the end of tonight's discussion. But, one thing is clear, even though we haven't really come to a clear conclusion, but there is something that is kind of clear, and that's there's something uniquely unsettling about the idea of these BEKs, not because they're violent and not because they, attack people and not because they force their way into anybody's home. In fact, the most disturbing part of the stories are precisely the opposite of that. They don't force entry. They wait. They ask. They stand quietly at the threshold and request permission. Sometimes they do demand. And that detail echoes something far older than this internet phenomenon that they've become, and far older than the first reports that surfaced in the 1990s. Across cultures and across centuries, folklore often repeats the same strange rule. Some things cannot cross the boundary unless they're invited. Vampires, spirits, and other entities in legend are said to require consent before entering someone's home. Whether those stories were meant as just a metaphor or a warning or something like more literal is, well, it's impossible to say, but the pattern's there. So you have to ask the question, what are the black-eyed kids? Are they simply a modern urban legend? Are they stories that have been shaped and spread through the internet and using the power of suggestion? or are they psychological manifestations of fear and unease in a world that's already full of fear and unease and all this uncertain things that's going on these days? Or could they represent something that's a true anomaly, something that understands how we as humans think, how we respond to vulnerability, and how easily trust can be manipulated? Because if these encounters are genuine, and many witnesses insist that they indeed are genuine, then what we're dealing with isn't just a strange child knocking at the door. It's something that understands human nature, something that mimics innocence, and something that doesn't break its way into our world, but waits for us to open the door ourselves. And maybe that's the real mystery. Easy.
No, it's a great summary. I think it's somewhere in between. Somewhere in between.
I'm leaning towards aliens now
Yeah.
that we've had all this discussion.
Yeah.
But maybe the question isn't simply whether the black-eyed kids exist. Maybe the question is more like, why do they need permission?
I think that is the ultimate question. Yep.
And that brings us to the end of tonight's episode of the Midnight Syndicate podcast. Now, whether you see black-eyed kids as folklore, fear-made flesh, or something far more real, one thing is certain here. The stories haven't stopped, and neither has the mystery. So thank you, everybody, for spending part of your night with me and Easy-E. Sleep well. Easy-E.
Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sandman, and on behalf of Easy-E, I bid you good night. The Midnight Syndicate will return next month with another journey into the strange, the unexplained, and the shadows that wait just beyond the door, probably a continuation of tonight's discussion. Good night, everybody, and we will see you again next month.
Here comes the Midnight Syndicate, lost souls, part of the lit parade. Darkness claims one life forsake, under the moon a twisted fate.